They're big and small, fast and slow, and they have diversified across an entire continent. From the searing deserts of the center to tropical forests in the north. And the temperate woodlands of the south. They are found in the most ancient of Australia's habitats and are equally at home in the newest Australian environments. Cold-blooded, resourceful, adaptable. They are the lizards of Oz. Arid Australia. The centre of the driest inhabited continent on the planet. Home to ancient forests and fire-ravaged bush. A land of boom and bust where the intervals between rainfalls can be counted in years. A land of extremes. Searing under the summer sun. Frostbitten by winter nights. As the morning sun strikes the dunes, signs of the night shift are revealed as they return to their burrows. As the day heats up, the next shift emerges. And none so weird as the thorny devil. One of over 70 different species of Australian dragon lizard. Wearing darker skin in the morning to absorb maximum heat, he slowly cranks himself into gear. He pauses regularly, trying to avoid the attentions of raptors riding the morning thermals. If that tactic fails, the devil freezes and lowers his head, presenting his thorny hump instead. Then, when the coast is clear, he marches purposefully towards breakfast. And soon enough, an endless sushi train of ants busy themselves for the day. Even in hard times, there are billions of them here. You just have to sit and wait. A devil can snap up tens of thousands in a single sitting, at a rate of 45 ants a minute. Almost every one a direct hit. With head down over the ants, a scaly false face gives the impression that the devil is watching out as well. Devils are Australia's greatest dietary specialists. Bitter ants are all they eat. While the other members of the dragon family share the devil's keen eyesight and diurnal habits, none have taken on such an extreme appearance or strict diet. An extreme lizard for an extreme climate. It rarely rains here. Freestanding water in the dune system is a rarity. Electrical storms sometimes generate flash floods. But the moisture is quickly sucked into sandy soils or evaporates. Mostly, the devils pluck dewdrops from plants. The desert dwellers respond quickly to grab what they can. Birds come from far to swoop and gulp to quench their thirst. In the heat of the day, red kangaroos leave what shade there is to find water. The thorny devil, however, has desert drinking down to a fine art. And they have a remarkable means of quenching their thirst. When presented with a puddle or saturated sand, they use their feet like blotting paper, sucking up the moisture through the capillary action of their skin and channeling it into the corner of their mouths. This tiny dragon can find water even where there has been no rain at all. It simply brushes against dew-laden grasses to harvest enough moisture to satisfy its thirst. It's an incredible demonstration of how, over eons, Australian lizards have not only adapted their behaviour, but also their physical shape to survive. The relentless heat of the desert can do strange things to the reptiles that call it home. While the thorny devil leads a cryptic and solitary life, the Central Australian bearded dragon has a very different strategy. With keen eyesight, they are ever watchful for predators and prey, preferring high vantage points to survey their surroundings and escape the searing ground temperatures of summer. A termite mound is also a great hideout when danger threatens. Associating with a mob of kangaroos means more eyes and ears alert for dingoes. In the cooler part of the day, they return to the ground to forage on beetles and flowers. In a flat desert, competition for food and high vantage points can be fierce. Males can change the color of their beards within minutes to look more threatening. Out here, scores are settled and pecking orders established first by posturing. And if that doesn't deter interlopers, game on. In this family, the ladies also have beards. Females bob slowly, while males bob furiously. But there is an even more extraordinary gender bending at play. While the sex determination of many reptiles is dictated by temperature during incubation, recent scientific studies show that there is more than just temperature at work. In extremely hot conditions, central bearded dragon's eggs that are already male reverse their sex and hatch as females. Some of these females then become super females, capable of laying extra large egg clutches. Lower incubation temperatures see their clutches male-dominated. With the rising temperatures brought on by global climate change, some scientists are worried about skewed sex ratios of these gender-bending lizards. Temperature plays a crucial role in the daily lives of all lizards, whether a dragon in Australia's red centre or a monitor lizard on the southern edge of the continent. For this species to live so far south of the equator requires a specialised synchronisation with the seasons. It's December, summer, and the mating season for Rosenberg's goanna. This male is on the prowl for a female, one that is in good breeding condition. His deeply forked tongue is his guide to suitable prospects. The females are mostly out of sight in their burrows, so he is required to pay them a visit. Not all females make the grade. Courtship within the burrow takes a few minutes. But consummation of their pairing is an outdoor, seemingly tender affair. While the public mating display can last 10 minutes or more, the female is quick to return to the privacy of her burrow. But the male continues his advances, and they mate repeatedly during a few days of summer romance. Then they go their separate ways. The female, now heavy with a few dozen eggs, seeks out an egg-laying site, one where the incubation duties will be taken over by an entirely different species. Termites. She scratches her way into the mound to construct an egg chamber almost a metre deep. After backfilling the chamber, she lingers nearby while the termites go to work repairing the damage, enclosing her eggs in their urban fortress. Both parents remain close for a few days, perhaps to ensure that no other goannas excavate in the same mound. The termites regulate the humidity of the chamber and keep the temperature inside at a constant 30 degrees Celsius throughout most of the year. Deep within the mound, the eggs incubate for 8 months, sheltered from winter rains and polar winds. In early spring, the eggs hatch within the mound, and the young start scratching their own way out. A process that can take a few weeks. Sustained by a diet of termites, they eventually emerge, but linger at the entrance until the weather is warm and sunny enough for them to get active. They're extremely vulnerable at this stage and return to the safety of the mound every night after foraging. Most young lizards don't live long enough to become adults. The odds are stacked against them. Yet those that do make it through are tough survivors. None more so than shingleback skinks. They have adapted to life in the vast and inhospitable spaces that fringe Australia's central deserts. They sport a veritable coat of armour, reflecting heat and light, and reducing water loss from evaporation. A true desert survivor, this is one of Australia's more than 300 different species of skink. They roam a sprawling home range of some 4 hectares, grazing on berries and flowers. When the desert is in bloom and flowers plentiful, they gorge themselves, storing fat in their stumpy tails. Fat reserves they draw on in the inevitable lean times, when they can live for months without any food at all. Their tail is not only a larder, but a means of deception. Aerial predators are challenged to determine which end is which. It also brings some consternation to other creatures that cross their path. With a back-to-front body, unappetizing covering of scales, and a startling habit of tongue poking, even the usually fearless dingo thinks twice before attacking a shingleback. But their strange looks certainly appeal to their own kind. Almost unique among lizards, shinglebacks are monogamous and loyal lovers, staying together for more than 2 decades. Every year between September and December, couples find each other after months of separation. They follow each other around like doting partners. Mating intermittently before going their separate ways again in summer. While the shingleback can cover 500 meters a day, one of their closest relatives, the Centralian bluetongue, doesn't get around much, often moving less than 50 meters in 24 hours. Moving slowly helps conserve moisture. And being omnivorous, this lizard never needs to forage too far. Apart from their cryptic coloration, this blue tongue's best defense against predators is to give them a flash of their fleshy blue tongue and hope that the threat will work. Even though lizards, like all reptiles, are considered cold-blooded, this expression can be misleading. They are ectothermic, fine-tuning their body temperatures by retreating to the cool in the extreme heat and warming themselves in sunny spots on cool mornings. The changing climate is a new threat to the survival of lizards. The early onset of summer temperatures means that many now hatch earlier. And many of the young can't withstand the swings in temperature. Geckos have evolved to be nocturnal. Their enlarged eye rods increase their light sensitivity to 350 times that of human eyesight. Without eyelids, they can't blink. So the sensitive cornea is cleaned by a simple lick. Most reptiles have skins that don't grow with them, so they shed it every few months. Young geckos, however, can shed their delicate skin almost weekly. Vulnerable when molting, they are protected by the night. Under the cooler, moist air of evening, there is less need to reflect heat and conserve moisture. So their tiny scales are thin and almost translucent. Many Australian geckos, like this jeweled gecko, lead highly specialised lives. This desert dweller survives on a diet of termites and ants, and clambers among the spiny fortresses of spinifex that dot the sandy deserts. The spikes of each modified leaf are fierce and a great deterrent to predators. They also collect moisture that then rolls down the leaves to the base of the plant. This attracts the ants and termites that geckos feed on. But the geckos need to move between clumps to feed. This is when they are vulnerable to the Australian desert's greatest killer, the feral cat. Introduced by Europeans in the late 1700s, cats soon deserted settlers' farms and headed inland. Over hundreds of years, they penetrated the centre of Australia and conquered the desert. They were able to dominate this landscape because of their diet of reptiles. They are also nocturnal. And the delicate likes of the jeweled gecko stands little chance against this formidable hunter. The moist bodies of lizards provide all the moisture feral cats need, so they don't succumb to the crippling effects of drought that even decimates populations of native mammals like kangaroos. Feral cats kill 1 million reptiles a day in Australia. and an individual cat can devour dozens of lizards in a single night's hunting. In Australia, lizards are both prey and predator. In the tropical forests of the north, a lace monitor is on the prowl. A kingfisher has made her nest in an abandoned termite mound. He waits for the parents to leave and the chicks are unprotected. He makes his move. Strong claws could rip the mound apart, but he has a different plan. The chicks call out to their parents. All he has to do is reach into the nest hollow. The parents return. Forcing him to break off the raid. All monitor lizards, also called goannas, are opportunistic predators, constantly on the lookout for easy prey. Like snakes, they use their tongues to detect chemical signals wafting on the air. Keen eyes scour the trees for signs of birds' nests. They can sense if the nest is active. While the budgerigar parents are absent, a sand monitor makes its move. Strong, gripping claws make easy work of vertical climbs, even on smooth-barked trees. Nesting birds must be ever vigilant with these notorious nest raiders on the prowl. The coastal cousin of the parenti, the lace monitor, also has a taste for eggs. On its constant search for nests, the lace monitor crosses adversaries of its own. None more clever and formidable than the dingo. The lace monitor can use its tail like a weapon, thrashing it sideways with great force to repel attackers. So while one dingo tries to disarm the tail end, the other dingo attacks the front. They need to be particularly wary of those gaping jaws. Not only are the teeth needle sharp, but they are laced with toxic saliva. Once thought to be bacteria-laden, science has now discovered toxin-producing glands in monitor lizards' mouths. A serious bite could be lethal for the dingoes. When they toss the lace monitor into the water, the advantage goes to the goanna. For the tail is not only a weapon, but a propeller. It submerges and makes a hasty escape. All monitor lizards have the same body shape. Their strongly muscled tail can be 2/3 the length of their bodies. They are the long-distance endurance hunters of the lizard world. Although they can move surprisingly fast over short distances. They are also the only lizard group on the continent to have a forked tongue that they use to great effect. The Perenti is the largest of the Australian goannas, the second largest lizard in the world. It's a top-order predator out here and lives by feeding on other reptiles. While their sight and hearing is acute, their tongue is their primary sensing apparatus. In reptiles, the more deeply the tongue is forked, the more important it is to sense with. Each lobe picks up tiny chemical cues that are taken in and passed over highly sensitive chemical detectors on either side of the roof of their mouths, known as the Jacobson's organ. Not only do the organs alert them to the presence of predators or prey, they also work like stereoscopic vision, guiding these predators ever closer to the location of their target. With head down and tongue active, this Perenti is on the hunt and homing in on a snake. Its chemical analysis of scent trails and traces can not only inform what prey type it's pursuing, but can even determine if the snake is venomous or not. Snakes are their favorite prey. While the snake may have taken a meandering route on its hunting course, the Perenti navigates the most direct route. Even fast-moving prey are not safe from this hunter, which can reach speeds of 40 kilometers per hour over long distances. It expands its throat to function like bellows, pumping air from the nostrils down to the lungs. It grabs its prey with needle-sharp recurved teeth, gulping it down whole. And the Perenti moves on to its next conquest. Pursuing prey in the middle of the day can cause goannas to overheat, so they seek out the shade when they can. They cool themselves by a technique known as gular fluttering. Holding their mouth open and rapidly fluttering their throats, increases evaporation from their mouth, and reduces their temperature. While this desert dweller is water efficient, he still needs to drink. And watering holes are sparse in this arid landscape. He is not the only one with a thirst to quench, and attracts the wary attention of those already gathered to drink. Fully grown Parentes can easily take down a rabbit or small kangaroo. So these desert dwellers have good reason to be nervous. Submerging his body further helps to bring his temperature down, in readiness for some afternoon hunting. Even a young dingo could be on the menu. Especially vulnerable without the support of his pack. Waterholes are critical to the survival of most desert dwellers. The majority dry up during drought, forcing foes to drink alongside each other. Budgerigars feast on dry seed heads and need to drink at least twice a day during the summer. In a safety and numbers strategy, they descend on the water in their thousands, drinking on the wing. Casualties are inevitable. A bonanza for the Parente, a notorious scavenger as well as a hunter. To survive in extreme environments, whether arid deserts or the wet, dry tropics of the north, reptiles have had to become specialists. Over millions of years, as the continent of Australia drifted north, the climate was always slowly changing. A remnant of what much of Australia used to be can be found in the rainforests of Cape York. These forests remain little changed. An island of prehistory where relics from the age of dinosaurs still roam. $50 to 100 million years ago, these Gondwanan forests once covered Australia and part of Antarctica. While today's rainforest covers less than 0.2% of Australia's landmass, it hosts 20% of its reptile species. Among them, a dragon lizard that time forgot. The Boyd's forest dragon. A reclusive tree dweller who views its world and its insect prey from soaring rainforest tree trunks, moving shyly away from unwanted attention. This is a lizard who lives life in the shadows. In this forest, the solar power that energizes reptiles is masked by a dense canopy. So the boid simply lets its body conform to the air temperature around it. Energy conservation necessitates a sit and wait hunting strategy. Here in the tropics, even midwinter temperatures rarely drop below 20 degrees Celsius. But when they do, the dragon heads skyward towards the warmer canopy. Elsewhere on the continent, dragons are evolving at an astounding rate in the most surprising of habitats. While the vast majority of dragons thrive in the desert, there are a few that have made the most of sharing their habitat with a couple of million humans in a concrete jungle. The subtropical city of Brisbane is home to the world's densest population of eastern water dragons. Not just in the suburbs, but in the thick of the city's bustling heart. These are truly lizards of the Anthropocene. They have not only survived the human invasion, they have thrived by modifying their behavior. Growing to a metre or more, they are strong, long-legged lizards with keen eyesight and hearing, and a crest of handsome spines. And as their name suggests, water dragons are water lovers, never far from streams and water sources. With a tail longer than their body and shaped for swimming, they can stay underwater for 4 hours at a time, dropping their heart rate to conserve energy and oxygen while submerged. They also use the water to regulate their body temperature. Cooling off in the summer heat. This population of some 350 live in the Roma Street Gardens. On the fringes of the Brisbane River. This is one of a number of populations along the river, all separated by highways and human barriers. Rather than cling to the safety of the riverside, each of these populations has immersed itself in city life, and in the process, they've made rapid evolutionary changes. Research has revealed that populations in Brisbane City are becoming genetically different from each other. A male guards his territory and his harem of females within it. Here he has everything he needs: shelter, mates, water and food. free handouts and leftovers from the two-legged locals. But this means tolerating a high level of harassment. These dragons have learnt that the worker with the hedge trimmer is tolerable, despite the threatening blades and raucousness he creates. But a toddler of a certain age is best avoided. Curious young boys are a potential source of food, but best kept an eye on. Staying close to the water offers an escape route, whereas a grandfather with peanuts can be trusted. These lizards not only tolerate their human neighbours, but can differentiate between those that offer them some benefit and are non-threatening, to those that make little contribution other than a threat. Putting up with the locals has its advantages. Food is plentiful, so much so that these dragons spend most of their time now on the ground, rather than their ancestral home in the trees. Dragons all over the city have adapted to urban sprawl, not giving in to the habitat modifications, but working within them. More food resources means more competition, and the males need to defend their patch more vigorously. While all male water dragons are naturally bigger than females, here they are 3 times the size of their mates. And social networking has become intense in this modern dragon society. Dragon lizards are highly territorial, not just in defense of their females, but of their food sources. Males posture from high vantage points, displaying their red bellies, bobbing their heads. And when the challenge gets serious, a graphic demonstration of their strength and superiority. With so many other males to fend off in this crowded Jurassic Park, the males just keep getting bigger and have to be ever vigilant of their territory, living in such crowded quarters. When a dominant male ventures into a rival's territory, he must display subordinate behaviour. If the challenger still won't back off, it's fight time. In only a few generations, these isolated populations of water dragons are not only becoming genetically different, but have rapidly evolved their behaviour to suit their environment and their human neighbours. Australia is where lizards have thrived and diversified. With almost 700 species. Their sheer variety is astounding. They have adapted to every environment where it is possible for a cold-blooded reptile to exist, making them one of Australia's most successful evolutionary stories. As the world continues to change, the lizards of Oz will change with it, adapting and evolving in ways that we cannot yet imagine.